So we're up to Oitz Nun. Bottom, page Kuf Chof. Be'achel did the Kitzer. So we're using Ratzon as the model to understand Koches Makifi, phenomenal Makif. Ratzon is, as we already pointed out, is not an entity unto itself. It is totally representative of the Etzem that has this roots. There is not an entity, an definitive entity of the Ratzon that can be translated in different ways or transported to different things. V'zehu, thus this explains, or this is the point, sheho Ratzon ein bo b'vchinas hislapshus b'kelim. The phenomenon of Ratzon does not come, which means it does not develop in a hislapshus in kelim manner. Hislapshus b'kelim is on the one hand, it's an easily definable, easily demonstrable aspect, and hence it's difficult to understand. Hislapshus b'kelim, like you write with your hand. The writing with your hand is not merely that the seichel directs the hand how to write. This is what we said many times, it's a robotic type of writing. The fact that when a person writes, the hand itself becomes imbued with the seichel as to how to write. This is still going to be encountering here. But this is just an example of this hislapshus b'kelim. The koyach becomes imbued and one with the kelim. There is no question that it is the koyach that performs the act and gives the act a sense of meaning and so forth. And yet, it is a very common expression. He has good hands. So he has good hands. It's not the hands. It's the koyach that's slavish in the hands. So what is it to say he has good hands? The hands are proper kelim for the koyach. But Ratzon does not come by hislapshus b'kelim. The expression ein bo b'vchinas hislapshus b'kelim means it cannot be captured at that stage, in that state. Although it may be effective there, but it's not captured there. Which means to say, that there is not a specific koyach among the Ivorim Haguf and the Ivorim in the body, where the Ratzon is mislabesh, Mislavish means is completely contained. If Ratzon were mislavish in a particular keli, then it would mean that when a person follows to execute on the basis of Ratzon, it is dictated from that keli, just like seichel is dictated from the brain. But there is no such a thing. The dictation for a certain act of any Aved comes directly from the Ratzon, not through some other intermediate station. K'moi kol ha'koyche is different, and the Islamic kelim in Ratzon does not exist as it exists in other koyches. So yesh lehem kelim yichod, that all have kelim yichodim, unique, specific kelim that belong to this koyach. K'moi oir ha'seichel, as, for example, the oir ha'seichel. All of a sudden, the Rebbe reverts to the expression of oir ha'seichel instead of koyach ha'seichel. We will discuss it, but we can only discuss it if we bring our seichel to bear. The keili, the moyach will not understand it. The seichel will understand it. So, oir ha'seichel, as the oir ha'seichel. What is the point to bring down oir ha'seichel? Shechoimer ha'moyach, with the choimer, the actual material of the moyach. What the moyach is made of. Hu keili le'er ha'seichel. Is a keili, is a proper receptacle. It has the refinement and the fine sensitivity to be responsive to the oir ha'seichel. Shenitfas u'mislabish bei, where the oir ha'seichel is grasped and is mislabish, and it imbues itself in the kli ha'seichel. Ukmeshin is boil yield penny base. The oir ha'seichel, and they say oir ha'seichel shechol ma'amech is killed in the seichel in Slavish Bay.
To remain on this call, press 1.
The seichel, I should do.
Returning to the conference room.
The seichel is a koyach hanefesh. We discuss all the time. Even though this is a koyach of seichel, it is representative. The reason that there is this koyach is because it fits in bidat nefesh, because it's a nefesh odom. All nefesh odom has a oir ha'seichel, has koyach ha'seichel. A living entity like an animal does not have oir ha'seichel. In other words, the oir ha'seichel is a representative of the nefesh. But you say it's a distinct koyach. If it is distinct koyach, why does it belong to this nefesh, not to that nefesh? And the explanation, of course, is Seichel is a nefesh element. Because of the type of nefesh it is, this is why the nefesh emanates Seichel. Let's try to define Seichel just as the first step. What do you mean by Seichel? We said many times, Seichel does not mean the means to figure things out. That 2 times 2 equals to 4. This is not the essence of Seichel. More correctly, if we want to focus in on Seichel, Seichel is that which identifies that there is something to know. That there is a right and wrong. What right and wrong that we can figure out. We have to kind of descend into the situation and figure it out. But the Seichel is the way is a step before that. The Seichel is where it senses there is something going on.
There's a truth, or lower than that?
No, it's lower than that. It's in an actual situation. You come into somebody's home. You come to a wedding, whatever it is. You're not just going to come in and sit down. You're going to try to figure out where is the right place for you to sit. Why? Who told you there's a right and wrong? Your Seichel tells you there's a right and wrong. This Seichel is a nefesh element. It is still in the nefesh level. It's called Oir HaSeichel. It doesn't tell you right and wrong, because that you still have to figure out. But it's Oir HaSeichel. It's the impact. It says, wait a second. Get to understand the situation, and then you'll know where to sit.
When we say Oir HaSeichel, oil is the impact. And so does it mean that's the impact of the nefesh, or that the oil is the impact of the cycle?
The impact of the seichel element as it is in the nefesh.
But in this context, there's oil cycle. So does it mean there's cycle and there's oil cycle? So that we would say the cycle is before.
No.
The nefesh ha'odam. Let's step back a step. Be able to kind of develop it. The difference between nefesh ha'odam, lahavla, the animal. The animal does not have a function, a mission. The animal is there just to experience itself. A human being came al hatchila with a mission. This mission puts him in a different category. Therefore, whenever he comes in, he starts thinking about it from his mission perspective. How am I supposed to fit in here? What does this mean to me as a human being? And this is where seichel comes in. You are here to affect something. Aha. So there is something going on here. This is not a wilderness. There's something going on. This is why I'm put in here. This is the oil haseichel that's coming directly from the nefesh. This is not yet definitive seichel, but this is what forces you begin to to identify the situation before you go and do things.
And that's different from Ratzon.
Oh, very different.
And it's shaykh to a keli.
And it's shaykh to keli.
And somehow the keli dominates it or formats it?
No, it doesn't dominate. The keli is a proper receptacle where you can take the seichel and focus in with the seichel. The value the keli aspect is that you can dismiss everything else and focus in on this particular question.
So again, I'm trying to understand the touch. When we say oira cycle, does it mean that there's a first step cycle, then there's the oira of the cycle?
Yes, but the oira cycle is a reflection of the nefesh, and the nefesh is a sichli. It's a nefesh ha'odam. Nefesh ha'odam is, by definition, a sichli. And I explained why is it a sichli? Because it has a mission. It is not just there. There's meaning to his being. Meaning is already a seichel quality. A very seichel quality. Lahavdil, an animal, doesn't have to consider where he goes and how he acts. If his feet are taking him, so he goes. You watch many times, we go in the park, people come, bring with their dogs, and they come on the leash, and then he releases the leash. The minute he releases the leash, what happens? The dog begins to run at full speed. Where? Nowhere. A human being cannot do that because he's a sichli. This is what oir ha-seichel. Oir ha-seichel is the seichel element as it comes from the nefesh. It's not yet a koyach. The koyach is formed after it's mislabish in the aver and so forth. But it's oir. It tells him that there's some meaning to this, and you have to find the meaning is. This is oir ha-seichel.
From this oil comes the koyach?
Yes.
So why did we change the lashon?
Because we want to tell you where does it come from? The oil ha-seichel, why is the meich dafke akele for the oil ha-seichel? For seichel, because this is an oil ha-nefesh, and only the moyach that is so sensitive, he senses this oil. The hand and the foot also has a nefesh, has life, its own life, but it's not sensitive to that aspect of the nefesh. Oil ha-seichel shechoymer ha-moyach, the choymer ha-moyach, the actual structure, the actual material, the moyach, who keili le'oil ha-seichel, is a keli for this oil ha-seichel. And at that point, it becomes, so to speak, a noble entity. Shenit was a mislabesh bay, that the oil ha-seichel is grasped and is mislabesh in the moyach. What does that mean? What does that do? It means that now in your meyach you know that there is right and wrong. Tzad nefesh, the way it is in the oyer, there is no definition to that oyer. There's just the truth of the nefesh. When it's mislabish in the moyach, it becomes identified as seichel.
How did we say there's no definition to it, yet at the same time it's talking to purpose, it seeks purpose?
It doesn't talk to purpose, it comes from purpose. It comes from purpose.
Does that not imply
That's not seichel.
definition?
This is not, this is the creator of the seichel.
Hello? Hello?
Go ahead. Hi.
Can I ask a question on PALTIEL?
Just one second. You are given a house. This is my house. This is meaningful to the nefesh that you have a house. Because Odom Shene Bayis in the Odom. He wakes up and says, oh, this is my house. Wow. What does that mean? It means that I have a real presence here. This is the Oyer HaNefesh that emanates, that can relate to the phenomenon of having a house.
Which seems to indicate that it deals with definition.
Not definition, but reality. Its own reality. Its own reality is has a reality. He is not here inadvertently. He is here with a meaning. The world accepts him and recognizes him and has deference to him. It gives him a place in the world. This is yours.
I guess I'm looking at how all of that fits with not having definition, but okay.
No, definition that goes to Ratzon. Initially, the seichel is an oyer hanefesh. What is oyer hanefesh? That there is meaning to my being here. This translates in seichel.
There's meaning means what? That he has a mission, as was said before.
You're invited to a chasana. What does that mean? You came here to eat. You're invited to. I want to prove to you that I know how to cook.
That I'm part of the simcha.
In what way? Part of the simcha itself. It's my simcha, and you become part of that simcha. It's a completely different thing than partaking in the food. This is oyer hanefesh. Only the nefesh can relate and identify this kind of thing. Then it translates in seichel, where the seichel comes in and says, okay, so I'm here, so how do I behave as a guest? How do I behave? First thing I have to go over to the host and say, hello, I'm here, mazel tov. Which is where this oyer translates on a seichel level.
It's all rooted in that I'm part of the simcha.
That's right. And being part of the seichel, this is of the simcha, this is only the nefesh Adam is capable of that. Because only the nefesh Adam can relate to a mission.
Why is this
Being a participant in something.
Why is this a mission to be part of the simcha?
Because otherwise, if you're into yourself, you're interested only in your food.
There to affect. You're there to affect. You are there to affect.
That's right. That's right. You're there to participate in the real thing, in the ruchnius of it, not in the gashmius. This is why the Rebbe over here all of a sudden reverts back to oir haseichel, because this is an oir. This is the neshama element. And then this is mislabish in the moyach, because choyev and hameach. This is the phenomenal thing. Choyev and hameach. He's sensitive to oir haseichel.
Koyach would be much lower than that.
Yes. Choyev and hameach is sensitive to oir haseichel.
What? Chomer hamoyach is sensitive to Or HaSeichel.
Yeah, that's right.
The physicality.
Hello?
of the
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
I had a...
No.
I just...
Can we make it more audible?
Yeah, speak into the mic, please.
What is the relation? I'm speaking... I couldn't put it any closer if I...
Okay.
That's better.
All beyond. Yes, go ahead.
Is there a relationship between what we're talking about here, the Oir HaSeichel, and what in other places called Koyach HaMaskil?
I beg everybody, before we, while we're trying to identify things, let's not go anyplace else.
Okay, never mind.
Thank you very much.
So just to the
Once
point,
we identify the koyach,
Yeah.
then we're going to start talking about madrigas and the koyach. But
Fine.
I've been talking oir haseichel.
fine. The point made a second ago. The Or HaSeichel is somehow affecting or being received by the physicality, the chomer
Of the moyach.
right, which is the point where what in English you'd say where the mind touches the brain. This is a very what's the meaning here that
The meaning here is this.
that's being
That
said?
when I said before, you come into a room and you immediately begin to think, okay, how am I supposed to behave here? What makes you think how it's supposed to behave here?
What would make you think that?
Yeah.
A quest for the mission. What are we doing here?
Because you are about seichel.
Yeah, fine.
Because you're immediately sensitive there is something going on over here, and if you want to participate, you have to participate in the right way.
Okay.
Okay? This is the oir haseichel of your nefesh. You don't know yet anything at all.
Fine. But the point was that this is somehow played out.
1 second.
Yeah.
This oir haseichel is known to you in your brain. It's a nefesh element, and it is your brain that tells you there is something going on over here.
Mm-hmm.
From this oir haseichel, then you start asking, what is going on over here? A bar mitzvah, a chasana, a bris, what is it? Based on the information you get, your action is going to be identified by that.
So
In the shmusim, they used to go in the early years. Used to give out a shmusim every month. There was a for children shmusim mit kinder. It was the authors in that were very, 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 very high people. So there was a story with a chushim and a boy who was not developed, who was not taught proper, whose seichel was not developed. So he had his own cheshbenis and everything. So one time, he sees Nachman's son and Alavaya. Says Alavaya. Says, said, yeah. So the Baminon, the Baminon, the dead person, he must have been, he has tachrichim. And he says, tachrichim must be new tachrichim. The garments that you put on before burial. He says, oh, you must have new tachrichim. Oh, trog is unterreit.
So again, if you shine a light on a wall, nothing much is going to happen. But we're talking about where somehow the light of the neshama is being received by the physicality of the brain. That's it.
Yeah.
So why is this a property?
And we're just
This
saying
light is a seichel light. It's a light with a meaning. And he said the origin of it is because the neshama has a mission.
Yes. Why would choimer relate to meaning? Why does choimer?
Choimer does not.
Does not.
Choimer receives that which is given to it. It's sensitive to the oyer hanefesh.
But since this property of purpose of the seichel is because it has the or which emanates from the nefesh. Because it has or which emanates from the nefesh. It has or which emanates from the nefesh. So even the hand, why doesn't the hand think of purpose? Why is it that the seichel thing?
Because this oyer, in order to sense this oyer, you have to be a very sensitive material. One time,
so it's inside the keli, but the same or that goes into the brain goes into the hand. But the hand.
No. The hand receives it from the brain. The hand is already guided by the brain. The hand does not have this. He slapshas has seichel in the hand. Only the practical seichel, not the understanding itself. Seichel, the slapshas has seichel is in the brain.
So it's inside the keli of the hand, not inside the or. The distinction between the head and the hand is that the hand is not sensitive to this or.
To the or,
but it's the same or though. It's the same or, but the hand
is not sensitive to it.
Right, but it's the same or going into the brain, into the hand.
Well,
but the hand is not sensitive to it.
No, it's not. It's not right, because in the hand comes only the directive of the koyach haseichel.
So it's the lesser or.
As the brain directs it. So this, okay. One time, I pointed out like this. With your hand, you touch this table, and you actually feel its presence. And the same thing, you feel the presence of this rough covering at top. This roughness, we understand what you feel, because it actually disturbs the smoothness of your skin. What do you feel when you touch a table like this? Somebody whose skin is rough, in other words, like works very, rough work, he will not feel the sensitivity of this table. In order to feel the smoothness of the table, you have to have skin that is not damaged. This is emotional. The brain has that sensitivity. It's sensitive to oyer haseichel. Oyer haseichel means it's nothing compelling. Just sensitive to the reality of it. Because that, as I said, at that point, the seichel doesn't tell him anything, what to do, and how to do it. Just say, there is something going on. This something going on is an intangible message. And yet in the brain you sense it. That's why you begin to research what's going on. Okay, this is the pshat oyer haseichel is mislabesh in choimer hameach. Choimer hameach is a keli oyer haseichel shenit mislabesh by the seichel is not was grasped by the oyer hameach. Information is but Masha and Kin Ratzon. Look at this. This is all an introduction to the. We haven't even made. Okay, Ma Shenkin Ratzon, where Ratzon is different. What is the difference? Ein loy kelim yechades. The Ratzon does not have a unique and identified keli, a keli that belongs to the Ratzon. There is not a keli, whether it's the brain or the heart or the hand, a keli for the Ratzon. As we're going to go on, hopefully, Mitzvah the whole phenomenon of the Ratzon will become a little bit more clear and identifiable. Ratzon is a Ratzon, as we're going to see, Ratzon is a very elusive thing. It's a koyach, and yet it's not a koyach. It's not a presence. What is it? There is no answer to it. What is it? It's the nefesh in a certain, in the nefesh itself is Ratzon. We'll see in a minute. So, but the first thing is that in Ratzon there is no keli. There is not a particular keli with the Ratzon performs its function. The proof for that is Ratzon poyel b'chol ho'ivorim. That we see that the Ratzon have an effect b'chol ho'ivorim, in all limbs. Not finished yet. Even in the most external and lowest levels of Eivorim. Feet. Hands is a very high level, but feet. The Ratzon affects the feet. Okay, fine, but that's not the point. The point is, take it from miyad. The effect of the Ratzon is immediate. B'li shum shehir zman, without any elapse of time. As we shall see in Mitzvah Shem, Seichel also directs the Ivorim, directs the hand how to write. But there's a process. It's not an immediate response. You have to train the hand how to write. Ratzon affects the Ivorim Achitzin, even the furthest, the lowest Ivorim, immediately. There is no process, there is no means of transmission of this Ratzon.